After starting in North America, our drivers now head across the pond to start an international leg of our season. First up is the classic British home of motorsport, Silverstone. Will our Porsche drivers be able to master this fast and technical circuit? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is our Roush Racing driver, Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. With it being where Formula One ran its first ever race in the Modern Championship, this place is often associated with open wheels. But let's get a closer look at a track that is just as at home with sports cars. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side-by-side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, we're here now at
area. That is a great passing opportunity, and it really stays slow through turn of Silverstone. So if you watch Formula One on TV, we are racing the same exact layout. That means 1, 2 are incredibly fast S sections. It leads into turn 3, the Village area. That is a great passing opportunity, and it really stays slow through turns 4 and accelerating through turns 5 down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands and Luffield. A very, very famous section in racing there, all the way through Woodcote and through Copse, an incredibly fast turn 9. And then probably the most iconic section of this racetrack overall, the Maggots-Beckett's Chapel Complex, an incredibly fast S section. In these GT cars, you definitely have to hit the brakes, change some gears through there, but it leads out onto the Hangar Straight into turn 15, Stowe Corner. Another fast sweeping right-hander into the final chicane area, turn 16, 17, accelerate out through 18, club turn, club corner, whatever you want to call it down there. That is a lap around Silverstone Circuit, and that is what these Porsche drivers are going to have to master tonight.
Well, before we get to that racing, let's talk about our sponsors for this series, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or at 225-664-2565. Well, we've got the championship underway with 2 rounds now under our belts, and Chris Walsh has jumped up to the top with 25 points. Sagar Dhawan finds himself only a single point behind, getting a pair of third places. He'll need to clean things up if he wants to try and challenge Chris now that it looks like he might be here for the full season. Jad Duncan and Arnold Roper, along with Matt Hollander, in a very close battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and it's not too far back to Michael Bolton as well. But it's still early stages. You'd expect them to be pretty close up there, considering you only have differences in points between the top 10, and then everybody beyond 10th will get 2 points as long as they finish the race and are classified. What about the race itself here, Joey? Why don't you go through our details?
Round 3 of 13 for the Porsche Owners Club here. Everybody is in the Porsche 911 GT3R, that 992 chassis. It is the biggest, baddest, and fastest of the GT3 models out by Porsche here in iRacing. A 30-minute race with a fixed setup, so that means all of the cars, they are equal for these drivers. They have to understand where to push it, where to really kind of let the car breathe a little bit. And I can also say that the drivers are in a 30-minute qualifying session right now. So about 25 minutes on the board, a few minutes left here in qualifying. 30 minutes of qualifying leads into the 30-minute race.
Yes, indeed. And Sagar Dhawan has that pole position. Now, checking to see if we've got Chris Walsh out here. And it looks like he hasn't shown today. So that's going to really help the 501 in his hopes of trying to get another championship. And Travis Brown is about 0.3 off of him. So we'll see if he can make up ground in these final 4 minutes. He's actually just parked it in pit lane, so I don't know if he'll return. He'll have to take off soon if he wants to get a chance for at least one flying lap. Now we're going to watch the Californian around his time through here. This looks like the head through Maggots and Beckett.
And these fixed setup open qualifying sessions are a bit of a challenge in their own right. You can't empty the fuel out of these Porsches, so a lot of the competitors, they'll go out there and they'll basically drive around for a few laps, burn fuel off, and then come into pit road, put a new set of tires on, but don't fill up the thing with fuel, so the car constantly gets lighter and lighter as the session goes on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Something we often see that drivers try and stay out as late as they can, and unfortunately, Dustin Heindel won't be able to stay out after that. As we check out his camera, you can see the disappointment in his face there as he shakes his head, knowing that that is his qualifying essentially over.
You might have to put a helmet on inside of that rig if it's going to be shaking around that much, quite honestly. But we catch up with Jacob Abrams here in the 728 machine, white, blue, and black, as he heads into this final chicane section here. As turn 16 and 17 really have to slow the Porsche down, but capitalize on this corner right here, turn 17. As long as you can get your foot down and get through turn 18, it leads you out onto the straightaway to start your lap.
Yeah, it looks like that one didn't count for him, so it may have been just a warm-up lap. By the way, that actually was pretty critical for Dustin Heindel, who did return to the track. He hasn't set a clean lap yet, so he'll need one, or else he's starting from the very back of the field. Heindel will begin from 11th. Jad Duncan, you can see, who has brought his car in, will start from 3rd at the best. At this stage, I think it pretty much is a little too late for them to get out onto the circuit and start another flyer. But what about AJ Roper, who is currently working his way through Woodcut and is 4th on the grid? He's got 500ths to overtake Jad Duncan. That's pretty tight.
Yeah, through this incredibly fast corner of Cops here and into the fast S section. You can lose so much time through here, especially in these GT cars. You can't overcharge it. Remember, they do have aerodynamics, but you're not in a little prototype or a little open wheel. You have to be much more patient with these Porsche cars. It'll still do everything that you tell it to do as long as you give it time to react.
And that section at this stage has definitely become a part of the furniture. I have to remember that it was only added in the early 90s, but it's now been 30 plus years that the current form of Maggots and Becketts has been around. So it's very iconic for sure. The Canadian breaks down into the last part with Club trying to open it up a little bit. So I'm guessing this is not a hot lap. Yeah, he's about 3 seconds off. So he's going for one last attempt here. It takes 2 minutes, but they are allowed to finish hot laps at this track.
Yeah, and kind of judging where that timer is, I would expect a lot of these drivers. Oh, that was a huge slide from AJ Roper there through turn 1. But I would expect these drivers, if they are on a slow lap currently, it's because they are setting up to come to the checkered flag and start their final lap right as that time is coming down.
That's a good point. Yeah, Roper's backed off. He's done. That slide put paid to his hope at a flying lap. So Dustin Heindel, who needs one lap to count here, I think he's on one now. I think he's completed it, his out lap, and should be able to have this one count, but he needs this to be clean.
Coming up to that fast turn number 9. Let's watch that telemetry, see how much he lifts off the gas, onto the brake, down a gear, and then roll nice and smoothly back onto the throttle. The throttle trace looks really nicely from that rig. It's awesome that you can see all of that data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's the live telemetry that he's got on a separate monitor. You can't quite see. You can just, yeah, there's 5 of them right there. He's got our broadcast up there down in the corner. So we count at least 5 monitors in this setup with a motion rig on top of it, and almost no bevel setup there with the monitors as well. Just impressive all around. Dustin giving us this view. So far, so good. And it does look like he's 4/10 up on what it looks like is his optimal lap, from what I can tell on my timing and scoring, even though he hasn't set a clean one yet. It looks like he's gotten all sectors clean. So he'll come around, come across as the checkered flag has already come out. Will this count? Yes, it will. A 2:02.1, and that'll bump him up to 9th.
Nice lap right at the end of qualifying here. And as we were seeing, the checkered flag is out. If you have started your lap prior to that checkered flag coming out, you do get to finish it. Curious to see if anybody is actually going to improve their lap times. Michael Bolton coming around, taking the checkered flag, as well as the entire field.
Yeah, Bolton not able to improve. Anybody else coming through? Nope, that is it. That's the last of our drivers. Ian Roche did not improve on that lap either. You saw in the red and white number 4. That means that our grid is set. We'll go over that in a second, but the drivers will now take part in round number 3 of this season. They do 2 seasons per year, so it lasts about 6 months over 13 rounds. We're still very early on for this one. Dawan has been doing a good job, I'd say, backing up his championship of last season. Like I said, he came into this second in the points, only 1 off, Joey, and without his rival here, he's stepping up to the plate, taking that pole.
A lot of times these championships come down to that consistency. Is how often are you showing up? Are you here on a regular basis for all of the rounds? And once you're here, are you improving each week? And that's exactly what that number 501 car has done throughout 2023 and into 2024.
They get 2 drop weeks for these, so your worst 2 results get dropped, and everything else counts. That might come back to help Chris Walsh later on, but we'll see how many times he does show up, because that's what bit him back in 2023 and why he wasn't involved in that championship then, because he had showed up late and then missed a couple more on top of it, so he couldn't. He didn't have enough to count towards the full season, even though he amassed a ton of wins out in 2023 season 2. Also, big credit there to Travis Brown, managing to put himself on the front row. And Jad Duncan, who currently sits 3rd in points, is also 3rd out there, but we'll go over that order in a bit. Thankfully, had a good number of drivers show up here today. 16 of them going to be competing out at this circuit. So we should have enough action to keep us on the edge of our seats for 30 minutes today. And looks like the clock is now ticked down to 0. So that means it is time for our starting order for round number 3 of the first season of 2024. Sagar Dawan will start on the pole next to Travis Brown there on the front row, and Jad Duncan will begin from 3rd place. After that, it is AJ Roper in P4 and BJ Fulton starting in 5th. Mark Rondeau, good enough for P6 today, has Dylan Scott with the inside of the next row in 7th. Michael Bolton will begin from P8. Then in row 5, we follow Dustin Heindel getting that last lap in for 9th, and Ian Roche will be 10th.
And then in 11th, we have Dhruv Shawla and Jacob Abrams in that 12th place position. Jeff Shulam in 13th, Larry Haas in 14th, Will Castillo rolling off in 15th, and then the final car, John Momeyer, on row number 8 in 16th place.
We had a full course caution for the first time in a long time at the start of last race at Daytona. Let's cross our fingers that we've got enough runoff that drivers can avoid getting caught up in a wreck this time if something does happen out there. And let's just hope that nothing happens and everybody is clean and races hard for that first lap. You can see, once again, ideal conditions at 73 Fahrenheit on the track surface with just a little bit of wind at 8 miles an hour. So shouldn't affect them too much here as they get started off the line now. Green flag is out, and Travis Brown was slightly ahead of DeLon there at the beginning. He's got the inside coming down to the first corner as they jockey for position, almost 3 wide into Abbey. They're going to get through clean, though, and it looks like DeWan is going to stay in the lead.
And we head off into turn number 3 the first time, really hard on the brakes. All of the competitors nice and tidy through here. You got to slow it down even more. Use those cold front tires that don't want to turn whatsoever. Sweep it around turn number 5 and accelerate down the straightaway.
Whatever instruction they gave between last round and this one worked a treat, because that was an excellent start for the field, all fighting hard, yet there was no contact that I could see in these first few difficult corners. But down into Brooklands, we got a side-by-side fight between Jad Duncan and Mark Rondeau for 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. That is Jad Duncan on the outside here, side by side, as these Porsches are putting the power down. Mark Rondeau also sitting there. BJ Fulton, consider him inside this battle. Oh, almost touching bumpers going into turn 9.
Oof, we don't want a Hamilton-Verstappen situation there. Duncan will manage to hold out in 4th, and Rondeau will fall back to 5th once again. Now it's into the Maggots and Beckett sequence. Should probably stay single file through here, and it looks like they have pretty much siphoned out.
And look at the train of cars behind P4 that starts at Jad Duncan and ends all the way down there at Drew Shaula in P12. So we've got about 8 cars lined up here.
501 trying to run away as best he can. We're on board now with Drew here in 12th place. Jacob Abrams in front of him doesn't defend. Looks like Drew's not close enough to make a pass down into Stowe. So now as it goes over the crest, among the few spots that actually have elevation change at this former airport. Ooh, look up the inside maybe from a couple cars, but still no change for position.
I'm loving how close these cars are racing as we come to complete lap number 1 here at Silverstone. I thought maybe the qualifying times were going to spread things out, especially with how fast this racetrack is, but these drivers are keeping it tight.
Absolutely. Ian Roche still in 10th spot where he started once again, given a look on Dustin Heindel, but Dustin will remain in that 9th spot. Larry Haas, though, seems to be off course there, I think just outside of Abbey.
Our first victim to basically a high-speed spin here at Silverstone, but he's got the thing pointed the right direction. I don't see any damage on the car. The number 13 still giving chase, and this is the 371 of Jeff Shulam, making a move around Will Castillo.
So that will bump him up into 13th. This is a bit far down for Shulam. Usually he's a bit more of a mid-pack driver right now, so we'll see if he can get back up to the front. Didn't have the best of qualifying, unfortunately, as Jacob Abrams now goes side by side with Ian Roche, and Jacob is going to be able to take 10th away from that 4 car.
Ian just got a very poor exit out of turn number 7, and it translated all the way down that straightaway. Now he's actually got to worry about Drew that's closing it in right there on his bumper as well.
Gotta say, this can be a tricky track at times, and yet we've only had 1 spin so far. I gotta say, they're doing an admirable job out there, and pretty good exit from Ian coming onto the hangar straight. I don't think he's got enough of a run. Oh, but it got a slowdown for Dylan Scott down to the inside.
That can be probably from turn 9, I would assume. It can also happen through the S section. Now it's going to be side by side with Scott and Abrams as well. Looks like Abrams is going to be able to sneak his way through. Ian Roche is now looking down to the inside here into the chicane. He gets the elbows out a little bit, no contact, but takes away the position.
Scott's still serving it. Now he's finally given it back enough, so he falls to 11th. It was on lap 2, so it's not as bad as lap 1, but it looks like it still was costly for him. Meanwhile, this is BJ Fulton just behind Mark Rondeau, battle for the top 5.
Like you were saying, chasing down Mark Rondeau, who is sitting in the 5th place position. And really, Mark Rondeau not very far off of Jad Duncan, who's right there on the back of AJ Roper. So all of these cars, if any one of them starts to battle, I feel like they're just going to kind of close in on each other.
I mean, the top 5 are only a little over 5 seconds apart. So yeah, the front of the field has not separated much in these first 3 laps. In fact, look at this. This is for 2nd place. Travis Brown is now under threat as AJ Roper almost got within touching distance up through Luffield.
And that bright yellow car of Jad Duncan is loving this, right? Because the more AJ Roper attacks, he's going to look down to the inside. This is that moment you were talking about. He is not going to press the issue into Copse, probably for the better.
Not as much downforce on these GT3 cars. It's hard to go through there pretty fast, and they have to brake at least a little bit to try and get through. So he'll slot back in behind Travis Brown. But yeah, this has definitely helped out Dawan tremendously, up to almost 3 seconds away from them.
And look at how much it's reeled in that black and yellow 83 of Jad Duncan. So I think it was kind of twofold. AJ Roper probably wasn't close enough to make the move into turn 9, but also if he sits there side by side for a few corners in a few really fast corners, it's just going to allow everybody that they've pulled away from to close in.
Yeah, Jad Duncan is still right there. Good braking there for AJ Roper, getting right up underneath the rear wing of Travis Brown, but he needs a good exit off the corner here onto the pit straight coming towards Abbey. We can sometimes see passes down into Village, but he's got to be right with him.
Use that slipstream just a touch here, but it's all in that brake marker, like you were saying, into Village. You see Travis Brown actually move to the middle of the racetrack. Not really a defensive line, but it's just so slow through this section. You kind of consider it more the autocross line, the shortest distance around.
Absolutely. And, you know, one thing I do love about this league is for most of the rounds, it is this 30-minute sprint. There's no scheduled pit stops. So everybody has to try and pass on track if they want to get it done.
We're checking out that little 3-car battle as we jump back here for 11th spot. Looks like Ian Roche and Dylan Scott are still battling it out, and they're right behind Jacob Abrams, Dustin Heindel, and Michael Bolton as well.
Scott's really hassling him there. He's managed to get very close to the rear end of the number 4. Could we see another pass here coming up into Copse? Everybody is willing to risk it here. You do get a good tow, and he's going to show himself, but he's not going to take it seriously.
Yeah, but look at what that did. It pushed Ian Roche way off of the apex, so that opens the door for Dylan Scott on the exit. Can he clear him going into this S section? Yes, he does. It was all in that posture going into Copse and makes the pass for 10th.
Nicely done. Scott is still down 3 from where he began this race. Gridded up in 7, had a bit of a problem with a slowdown penalty just out of this corner earlier. It looks like this time he was nice and clean, but he's also pulling along that number 4 this time. Ian could try and get him back at the end of the straightaway up into Stowe, but it looks like he's not close enough.
It's pretty impressive how powerful that slipstream was down the hangar straightaway right there. Ian Roche just hanging right underneath the rear wing, and now a late braking move from that white and red car. Gets his elbows out a little bit, can't make the pass done, and here comes Dhruv Shaula down the inside.
Oh, could he have a reverse of fortune? Nope, he's going to be able to hold back that number 13. Aggressive, but unfortunately getting the elbows out, Ian did not manage to get back into 10th position.
Now it's just kind of stretched out a little bit, kind of like the accordion. Things kind of compress up, and then they stretch out as our leader out here in the 501, an extremely impressive pace. I was checking over here, the only car doing 201s on the racetrack.
Wow. I mean, impressive stuff here from Sagar. He's actually the only one to hit the 2 flats in qualifying as well. Everybody else was 201 or more. So, again, pace is phenomenal today for Dawan. And Dylan Scott here is still in a nice little battle as we check in on Jeffrey Shulam, who's now trying to catch up to Dhruv Chawla and that battle. So he'd probably appreciate them once again doing a little bit of side-by-side.
Get through all of these cars on the field here. This is Will Castillo in this bright orange Jägermeister-themed Porsche out here running around in the 14th place position. About a second and a half right behind Will is John Momeyer here in the number 6. This has got to be an art car of some sort, Joe. I wasn't sure if Porsche did them. I know BMW does them, but I wasn't sure if Porsche did them as well.
I mean, to me, it just says 80s, and that says mistake as John Momeyer spins it coming through Copse. Thankfully didn't hit the wall. Jacob Abrams, in the meantime, is sizing up Dustin Heindel coming up into Stowe. Heindel's going to defend, but he drifts a little bit wide. Jacob can't quite pull the over-under.
Let's see where he puts the car on the racetrack. Right in the middle, Jacob Abrams way down the inside. An excellent late braking move, but look at the kind of momentum, and now contact. Heindel goes around.
Oh, and he's in the middle of the track, almost backs up right in front of 3 cars. Chala, Roche, Scott all managed to avoid, and now he gets it going. That was scary stuff. I got to say, I think that Dustin actually had pretty good presentation there. He didn't deserve to be squeezed like that.
No, didn't need to be squeezed like that, but it can happen. Those are slow corners, and it's racing. I'm sure they'll talk about it afterwards.
No doubt. This is a close-knit group. They race against each other in real life as well. There'll be some chatter and probably a shaking of hands afterwards. AJ Roper still in 3rd spot, still on the back of Travis Brown, but now Jad Duncan looks ever closer.
And yeah, this is that battle for 2nd place overall here. Or the way you look at it is Jad Duncan being left off of the podium. He wants to go up there and spray some virtual champagne at the end of this one.
Those positions swapped early in the race. We're going to take a second look at that incident down into club. I mean, fantastic move from Jacob, but also incredible defense. I mean, he's still right up alongside him. Now, it would have been tough to make the corner, but I don't think he was given space.
I agree, Joe. Yes, he deserved more space at Apex, and you want to be careful about backing up on track right there, what Dustin Heindel did. It's better to kind of drive forward, go off the track again, and rejoin in a safe manner rather than kind of rejoin on the racing line. But I agree with you, Joe. Probably deserved a little bit more at Apex.
Hard racing. Sometimes it just winds up that way. AJ Roper has been racing hard with Travis Brown, as we're going to take another look here. Is this Momeyer's incident, or do we have something else happen? Oh, this is Heindel with another problem?
Yeah, he's all the way back. I've seen him fall back to 13th, and now I think he is in the pits right now. So just when it rains, it pours on the racetrack.
Wonder if there's a bit of damage from that contact, if he's brought it into pit lane. Not sure if that's just out of frustration or if the car really was handling poorly after he came together there with Jacob Abrams. Ooh, things looking a little bit more tense here for that 2nd spot. Thought maybe AJ would try and sneak it in through the loop, but he wasn't close enough there. Now a great exit from Travis coming onto the Wellington straight. Looks like AJ is going to have to try and regroup and get close once again.
This is just the next battle right behind it. Mark Rondeau has got his mirrors full of BJ Fulton right now. So BJ looking around to the outside. This is a really difficult pass, but it's oftentimes just trying to set up the over-under. These corners are so long at Silverstone. It's just trying to push that car off of their normal racing line.
Yep, Fulton still giving a lot of pressure here to Mark Rondeau. As up ahead, it looked like Roper got within 1/10 of a second, so that was getting tight as well. But Fulton on Rondeau for 5th spot. Oh, great exit here from the number 82. Is he going to try and take a look? A little bit of a defense from Mark coming down as he hovers to the middle of the racetrack. But by the time they hit Maggots and Beckett's, the door has been shut.
Yeah, it's just that little bit of posturing, right? You put the car right in the middle of the racetrack where your competitor wants to make the pass, and it just kind of persuades them not to make that move, but it is allowing Michael Bolton in that bright yellow car to kind of close it up behind Rondeau once again in the middle of the track going into what was turn 15 there. I don't think he's got to worry too much as Ian Roche is starting to make a move as well.
Coming back into it, Dylan Scott here through the inside. Looks like Dylan is going to be able to hold him off that time. We've seen a couple outbreaking maneuvers down into the chicane here, but not this time, as Ian will take the racing line. They've still got Dhruv Chawla behind them too, so he's got to watch out about any failed maneuvers because he could easily give a position away. Also, looks like text chat has confirmed my suspicions. Dustin Heindel says the car was broken after that one. So indeed, it was a case of car just wasn't handling, too short of a race to try and repair it.
Yeah, understandable for sure. And now he kind of gets to watch all of his buddies race, which right now, this race for 2nd place, it's certainly putting on a show. It is still Travis Brown holding off AJ Roper. I think that's where the majority of the pressure is coming from. That yellow car win 4th place. Jad Duncan just kind of sitting out at the buffet line, waiting for all the drippings to drop off the table.
And right now, Travis Brown is dealing with some great pressure. He finished 4th last week. Can he keep it from repeating, getting himself a podium? Need to check and see if he had any last time out, because this is, I'd say, an excellent race there for that number 79 that we're seeing today. Yes, he has not been able to keep up with Darwin, but regardless, he's making a name for himself right now.
And to touch on that point, it's not easy to turn laps when your mirrors are full, and AJ Roper actually had a little bit of a mistake, so the 79 of Travis Brown gets to kind of catch his breath a little bit, but he's holding off and dealing with that pressure quite nicely.
Another replay with Dylan Scott. Let's see if he finally buckled to pressure himself. Yep, he goes wide. Thankfully, it does not spin, but his momentum compromised. Looks like he winds up losing the position.
I can say, though, that he is on the back of Ian Roche still, so even though he lost the position, still got 13 minutes to battle on.
I'm trying to find the last time we saw Travis Brown, and I think it has not been since 2022, actually. So, and he fared well for himself that season. I think he wound up 4th in the points. So he's picked up where he's left off this season, and had, as I said, a good finish last time, side by side, coming up through one of the fast corners here into Abbey, and Dylan Scott will get that one back, fighting hard.
Ian Roche is still all over the back bumper, and let's see, can they both get it slowed down nice and tidy? Dylan Scott with an excellent exit out of turn number 4, puts the power down and accelerates away from Ian Roche.
It takes a brave driver to make that pass through Abbey. And I guess Dylan Scott is a brave driver today. So Ian Roche now has to roll up his sleeves and try again as we come back to that battle for P2. Travis Brown over AJ Roper as Jad Duncan watches from behind. We hop on board with AJ.
Accelerate up through the top of 5th gear. Click it into 6th before we get into 10 and 11 here. Back down into 5th, you're going to have to go down into 4th. Let's see if they click it down into 3rd gear through the slowest section through Chapel and accelerate out onto the hangar straight, all the way back up into 6th again.
Weaving back and forth to try and break the draft. Is he going to try and go inside? Yes, he is. AJ Roper sends it down into Stowe. He manages to get the apex away, but the inside's going to go right back to Travis Brown when they come to the apex of the next corner here into the chicane. Can he finish the job? Will we see another coming together here? Yes, we will. Same exact thing, except this time Travis Brown on the outside is the one that gets shoved off.
I mean, spitting image, right? You got to leave room at the apex, and look at how many positions it is going to cost Travis Brown all the way back to 6th. Rondeau and Fulton get by.
History is repeating itself quite a lot today, because not only did we have that, but Roche got the spot back from Scott after Scott went off, or had a slow exit, I should say, as we go side by side. And BJ Fulton is going to try and squeeze through on Rondeau. And yes, he really does squeeze as he got pushed way far to the inside, down into the loop. But here we go again. Rondeau with a better exit down the Wellington Straight. Fulton drifting to the middle of the track to try and defend up towards Brooklands. Will he be able to hold on to it? Late apex corner. Yes, he will fend him off.
And we're going to see if Rondeau can try to capitalize at all, because look at who is approaching. That is Travis Brown after his spin just a few corners ago. So he is on the charge. Rondeau is not letting go of this 82. He is literally underneath the rear wing. You got to let off a little bit through this fast turn number 9. Deal with all of that dirty air coming off of the car in front of you. We have some excellent fighting out here today. Some drivers are not taking no for an answer. Ooh, good run there from Mark Rondeau going into Maggots and Beckett's, but nothing he can do with that momentum. Behind them, guess who's coming to dinner? It's Travis Brown. He's going to get a really good run down the hangar straight here. I don't think he's quite close enough to pull up alongside, though. He's in the slipstream. Really defensive from Rondeau. You see Travis James now go to the standard racing line. He's going to look down to the chicane for a late braking move.
Oh, very good exit, although it goes a little bit wide there. Doesn't get the cut course. He kept it within the boundaries, looks for it, and is not able to finish it up. Behind them, Michael Bolton is kind of sizing them up as well. 4 cars basically stuck together here, fighting for 4th.
Well, and consider Jacob Abrams in it too, right? That white and purplish blue car. So as long as these 4 continuing doing what they are doing, they are some of the slowest cars on the racetrack, but slow equals smiles right now in racing.
It really does. I mean, like I said, my goodness, the battles that we've been getting out of them. As there it goes down to the inside, a big lunge from Travis Brown, and it looks like Rondeau is going to have to give that one back. I think that's the exact same thing that Fulton did to him.
Yeah, and thankfully, you know, Rondeau saw it coming, so he left a little bit of room at apex there. He got pushed off of the racing line. That's what opened the door for Travis, and he is going to complete that pass into 5th place position. Oh, no, he drifts off the racetrack, stacks everybody up right behind him, so it might be another opportunity for Mark Rondeau.
He's close, but he'll have to be brave because here we go to Cops once again. The toe starts to pick up. They do get a fair bit of speed here, already up to 140 miles an hour as they approach. And no, he's not going to be able to get the side-by-side. So Rondeau mentally making a note, close the door down into the loop next time.
Into 10, 11, 12, and 13 section here. You can easily misstep, make a mistake, and cost yourself a lot of track position. Looks like all of them are pretty well-mannered and tidy, hitting all of the apexes as they should. Equal distant down the hangar straightaway.
Yeah, nobody close enough, unfortunately. That did definitely help Jacob Abrams. He looks a lot closer once again this lap. He's enjoying watching as we're going to take a replay. Let's see what we're going to be looking at. This is Dylan Scott in the 08. A little bit of a curb, and unfortunately, it looks like that car did not like it. Oh, is he going to stay out of the barrier? Just barely.
I think that's coming out of, I believe, Brooklyn's Luffield area, and it is definitely a traction area that you have to kind of get going and accelerating out of the corner, and sometimes you get too happy with that right foot as Jad Duncan still hounding the back of AJ Roper. Even though the Travis Brown isn't in this battle, it still rages on for second.
It absolutely does, and Duncan gets a pretty good run here. Roper kind of goes a lane off the outside. Now he drifts back to the racing line, leaves the door open for Duncan, who can't get the overlap. They go back to single file.
And, you know, this is a good drive from both of these racers out here. AJ Roper's up +2, but Jad Duncan has been totally patient back there. When AJ Roper was attacking Travis Brown, he was just sitting back there in what was the 4th place position. But now looking at taking over second.
The opportunity has fallen into his lap here to try and get himself a good chunk of points in the championship. Can he manage to do so as we take another look at John Momeyer now, who already had one spin that we witnessed. This one, let's see, where are we heading into as the car goes around? That looks like Brooklands, I think.
Yeah, I believe that is off of the Wellington Straight and into turn number 6. These Porsches can be pretty tricky with the rear engine as Jad Duncan is once again sizing up AJ Roper. Not quite close enough, but what I was going to say, that rear engine, that means all of that weight is back there. Kind of think of it like a pendulum. When it starts to slide, it can be tough to stop it.
So we watch Duncan once again show himself down into the final chicane, but isn't close enough to seriously do anything to AJ Roper. He'll cut across at the apex there. Now back onto the main straight, trying to keep it within the track boundaries so as not to get that slowdown penalty. 5 minutes left to go. We're coming down to the last few laps.
We haven't mentioned our leader at all, and he has grown that lead to 10 seconds over that battle for second that we were watching, as now Will Castillo and Larry Haas find themselves arguing over 13th.
Yeah, so this is down towards the back of the pack. And I have to say, Larry Haas picking up spot by spot here. He had his own little slip up earlier on, but now that he's gathered himself up, he seems to have done pretty well being consistent here today. Meanwhile, on screen, our leader, Darwin, like you said, 10 seconds ahead, just putting the laps down as he comes past the old start-finish line, where now they have the support pits and into cops.
It'd be fun to be on a golf cart and you can go between the two flag stands and really confuse the drivers out there at Silverstone. I'm sure that would be a fun game to play if you had a bunch of flags, but nothing is phasing the 501 out front, just clicking off fast lap after fast lap. Nothing is going to stop him except for himself or a mistake.
Let's cross our fingers that's not what happens here. Going to check back with Jacob Abrams in the number 728, still chasing Michael Bolton. This is for 7th on track, and they're actually not that far behind Rondeau on top of things. So they work their way out of Beckett and through Chapel here onto the Hangar Straight. This is the longest straight on the track, coming up into the braking of Stowe, which isn't as intense a braking as you would think. It's a very swift corner, which makes passes difficult, which means we're not going to see one yet from Jacob this time.
You were talking about how fast that corner is. I saw a minimum speed of about 95 miles an hour going through there. So you're definitely hauling the mail through several of these corners, but then through some of these chicane sections, it seems so slow and tedious at the same time.
Ooh, back up to Jad Duncan once again. He's recouped and collected AJ Roper to where he's within about 0.3 of a second as we hop on board, looking forward at the 07. Can he? Oh, he gets a really poor exit, a lot of wheel spin there, and that will cost him multiple tenths.
Yeah, just like you were saying, lost a ton of track position, but with 2.5 minutes left, I think he can gather that back up. I'm noticing only about 0.8 of a second behind AJ Roper. He can close that up in a lap.
And I'm checking, actually, white flag should be out next time by, because Darwin is, yeah, there he is, heading into cops with about 30 seconds. There's no way he's getting to the start-finish line before the 2-minute marker, and since that's about what they're running, we should be 1 to go.
It's pretty crazy how big this racetrack really is as he executes the Maggots, Beckett's, and the final Chapel corner here leads out onto the Hangar straightaway. Accelerate down through that top speed and go collect that white flag. 1 to go for that leader.
Jacob Abrams now, once again, closing in on the 127 for that fight for P7. Could he manage to get himself the exit he needs this time? We watched him last time down the Hangar Straight, but he was farther away. This time, it looks like he's right on that rear bumper, about 3 car lengths between them.
Bolton maybe had an okay exit there. He's got some good top speed down the straightaway. Well, should have equal top speed with these fixed setups as Jacob Abrams right behind him continues to stalk through that turn 15 Stowe complex. See if he can close it in on the brakes here into this final chicane.
So this is it, going to be his last chance around to try and make this pass stick. He's been getting himself into position, but it's do or die time. Where does he try?
I think a good opportunity. That was a poor exit there from Michael Bolton. It might be into Village, turn number 3 here, depending on how Michael Bolton handles 1 and 2. Looks okay through turn 1, looks okay through turn 2. Does he nail his brake marker? Yes, he does, so he's able to hold off Abrams for now.
Boy, he got close, though. Much better under braking. He's trying to square off the loop. Oh, but he goes a little bit too wide, and Bolton starts to pull away at a critical part of the lap.
Like you said, just pulling away at a critical part. This is our leader, though, coming by that old start finish, coming up to turn number 9, Cops. He's only got a half a lap remaining.
With 11-second lead, just needs to cruise on home from here. Doesn't really need to take any risks because this one is in the bag for the number 501 to mark what would be his first win of the season as long as he keeps it safe here. And as he heads out of Beckett's and through Chapel, just about 3 or 4 more corners to go.
He can pretty much put it on cruise control from here on out. 11 seconds between himself and AJ Roper. So hit the early brake markers. Don't accelerate too early. Let's go collect a checkered flag.
Dawan with 2 third places at the start of this season. Last time out, beat by Chris Walsh. Chris wasn't here to try and beat him here, so he picks it up and says, nobody can beat me today, as he wins at Silverstone for round 3.
Dominating performance there from Dawan. Pole position led every single lap. Here comes AJ Roper to claim the second spot. Jad Duncan will round out the podium in third. And look at this, Jacob Abrams trying to get by Michael Bolton in the last few corners.
It's going to be a side-by-side fight to the line, and it looks like it's Abrams. He'll get
looking good.
Very few successful, so it looks like he has figured it out. It was 2.5 hundredths of a second between them at the line. Here comes Shulam to take a 12th as well.
Crossing the line back here, the 371 in 12th place. And then I believe the final 2 cars will be Larry Haas in his number 5 machine. Looking good through the last turn of Stowe for the final time. And also has, I believe, John Momeyer right behind him.
Yeah, Larry Haas, we don't get to see much of him usually on screen, but he's going to get at least 1 position gain from where he started this race. So a nice run for that number 5, as Will Castillo looks like Larry might actually be the last one to finish, because don't see the 8 out on track right now. Well then, that means it's time to head for a quick break, but we'll be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Silverstone. Round 3 of the Porsche Owners Club Series sees Sagar Dawan take the win over AJ Roper by 12 seconds at the end of this race. Incredible pace from that 5:01. Jad Duncan was third with BJ Fulton P4. Travis Brown might feel a little bit hard done by, considering he was fighting for that second and then kind of got run off there in a fight down through the last corner, and he wound up 5th. Mark Rondeau was 6th behind him, and I don't think we gave enough credit to Jacob Abrams here. He went from 12th to 7th, a gain of 5 today. That was over Michael Bolton, who he beat the line by 0.025 of a second. Ian Roche was 9th, and Dhruv Chawla finished 10th.
Then in 11th place position back here, we have Dylan Scott Jeff Schulem finishing in 12th. Larry Haas in 13th. Will Castillo in 14th. And then John Momeyer, unfortunately, the first car that did not see the checkered flag. Dustin Heindel also started the race but did not finish tonight.
And that will bring us to our winner, Sagar Darwan, who managed to take his first win of the season. Sagar, it wasn't a bad start to the season, but 2 third places. I'm sure this is the improvement you were hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I have a shot at this championship, I have to make the most of every time Chris Walsh isn't here. And yeah, that was the goal going in.
I mean, we noticed that from pretty much the qualifying, the only driver to tick down into the 2 flats, and then the only driver that managed to hit a 2:01 for much of the race. Chad Duncan managed to join you close to the end there. I mean, where did you find all this pace compared to the others? It seems like you just controlled it.
Yeah, I don't think I can point at like one thing that resulted in that. I didn't even practice that much, honestly. Yeah, I'm not really sure why. I think just learning where you can and can't cut the track really helped. Also, I did make a mistake on the qualifying lap, which if Chris was here, I would be punished and I would not be starting on pole because I had a lap that was 4/10 faster and I made a mistake. So yeah, I think just got lucky. I think it would have been really tight. I'm not quite sure where the pace came from, and I wasn't sure it was going to carry forward into the race, but I'm glad it did because I made mistakes in the race as well.
Well, I mean, the good news is there's a lot of ifs in racing, but those ifs don't give you points. It's finishing where you finish, and you took that win. But you mentioned knowing where to cut the track. Not many places to cut the track at Bathurst. Is that one going to be an intimidating one?
I actually like Bathurst. It's a fun, like the downhill is scary, but a lot of fun. You like turn the car into the wall and hope for the best, and I love doing that for some reason. So I'm totally looking forward to that.
Well, we look forward to calling you on that race, and congratulations on the first win of the season.
Thank you.
The number 501 taking the win here today, as I believe Joey has caught up with AJ Roper, who finished second.
AJ Roper, congratulations on the second place. It seemed like you had your hands full the entire race.
Oh, boy, did I ever. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, talk to me. How was it? Have you been able to catch your breath yet?
Yeah, everything's a little tired, a little exhausted, sore. I used up 16 incidents to, yeah, that was a tough race. Terrible what happened there with Travis. Looked at the replay. We just had a little bit of net code going in as well. And so, yeah, just a bum deal there, I guess.
Oh, well, since you mentioned the incident points, were you kind of monitoring those and using them as you needed for that lap time?
No, I was just trying to survive. Yeah.
Well, I love the honesty. And then it looked like you and Jad had a good battle towards the end of the race there as well. What was it that you were finally able to kind of pull away from that number 83 car?
Chad was running us down, and I was just trying to get up to Travis. And so when that opening came, I knew I had to take it because it looked like Chad was coming. But as soon as I didn't have the wing wash, I think I was able to pick up a little bit of pace and play with the brake bias a little bit. And yeah, seemed to get a little bit of a gap on him.
Well, hey, you know what? Qualified fourth, ended up second. You get to spray some virtual champagne. You got to be happy with it. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my wife, I'd like to say thanks. Really appreciate the work you guys do here, and you know, everybody at the Porsche Owners Club. Great, classy league to be a part of, and yeah, lots of fun here. Thank you.
Well, that was AJ Roper driving the 07, coming home in second place at Silverstone today.
He beat Jad Roper to that second spot, but as you were describing, it was close for much of it. We've got Jad with us now to talk about that race, because Jad, you kind of were sitting in that popcorn seat watching the show in front of you for much of it. Suddenly, it becomes a fight where you're battling AJ for second. Did that kind of urge you on to get a little bit more aggressive?
Yeah, it did. That was a fun race.
It looked like it from our perspective. You saw them come together, though. What's your thoughts on the contact between them? AJ sounded like he felt a little bit regretful that it came to that.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Travis was well ahead going into the corner, and when he went to the apex, AJ's front bumper was kind of in the way there, but tough to see. I was trying to not become part of it more than really watching what was going on in front of me there.
Well, we didn't have you at Daytona. You start off with a win and now a third place. You got to be feeling pretty good with the way things is starting to turn around, because you came home second in the points last time. This is probably going to promote you up, I think, a few spots, or at least one spot here on this one with Chris Walsh not being around. What's your ultimate goal this season?
Just having fun. I think I have a few too many vacations planned, and can't complain about that. But they scheduled the double points events around my vacations, I think. So I think I got a problem coming up. But
darn real life getting in the way. Yeah.
Exactly. I'll just do the best I can and the ones I'm in, and just enjoy that. And maybe next season will work out better.
Well, yeah, that's a good excuse to have to miss some of these, I'd say. But I mean, well-run race out there, sir. You certainly kept AJ on his toes, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more when you do show up.
I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. That is our third place finisher, Jad Duncan, here today for round 3, which is going to close us up with a mention of our sponsors for this series, which of course includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com, and Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or at 225-664-2565. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next time at Bathurst will come Monday, February 19th at 11 p.m. Eastern, 2 weeks from now. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.